So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Notiswa Libala, and my talk will be around ECR's case studies and their contribution to the sustainable respective case studies or their work with their sustainable development goals that are being presented in creating their videos. Secondly, this is just to familiarize the ECRs about the water center systemic image of the sustainable development goals, especially those who were not in Nairobi when we presented the whole SDG process. Just to give a background on sustainable development goals and the importance of interlinkages between these goals. We all know that in 2015, the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, consisting of 17 goals, 169 targets, and 230 indicators to indicate or to track the progress of sustainable development goals. SDGs are known to be integrated and indivisible, therefore they must be implemented as a whole. And we all know that most departments, researchers, the NGOs or municipal departments are working in silos, and therefore SDG interlinkages are crucial for breaking those silos and facilitating greater integration amongst various stakeholders operating in diverse contexts. SDG interlinkages are also important to unlock full potential of goals and targets by maximizing synergies and managing any potential conflicts that exist. SDG linkages are also important in a way that they establish a foundation for integrated governance and policy coherence that is necessary to implement the sustainable development goals. And therefore, for us to achieve the 2030 agenda, we need to really work hard on interlinkages between the SDGs. So we all know that our center is Center for Water, right? And now, why do we focus on SDG 6, which is water and sanitation? SDG 6 is regarded central to achievement of all other SDGs. Social economic development initiatives are all enabled through SDG 6. When I'm talking about social, I'm talking about your SDG 1 poverty, SDG 2 hunger, economic development such as SDG 8. Those are all enabled through water and sanitation. The interconnected nature of SDG 6 with other SDGs also establishes the need to understand the full extent of the relationships and interactions to assume a more integrated decision-making and coherent policy approaches. Now, what are the water-related challenges that we face in Africa? So Africa has only 9%, which is the least percentage of fresh water at the continental level. This means that or protect our freshwater ecosystems as much as we can. So the effective management of water resources and service delivery derived from these water ecosystem related is really essential. We also have challenges around water sanitation and hygiene infrastructure and service delivery, and all these affect the health of the people living in our communities. We are also experiencing challenges of governance and institutional. We also have water insecurity challenges and unreliable water services, which compromise the peace and stability in our communities, which compromise the health of communities and response capability against pandemic diseases like COVID-19. The water services also compromise the address to hunger and the achievement for the food security, So now the water center, which is our center, have developed a systemic picture of SDGs as a planning and practice and evaluation tool. As we can see, oh gosh, I'm trying to point, but okay. As we can see, can you see my point here? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't see
I don't know why it changes to another language that I don't know, but okay, I will try. I will try by all means to explain it in English. So here, our image has SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation at the center, linking to primary water cycles, which is resources here, which is water in a catchment, and water service delivery, your supply and sanitation. So coming to this side, we have the landscape water resource cycle, which involves 3 key SDGs that are linked directly to water. We have SDG 13, which is climate action. We have SDG 15, which is life on land. And we have SDG 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions, right? And then at the center of those SDGs that are directly linked with water, we have 3 SDGs that are supported by the way the center functions. For example, we have SDG 4, which is quality of education, which is supported through the development of ARUA researchers and postgraduate students. We have SDG 5, which is gender equality and is supported through mainstreaming gender into all ARUA Water CoE activities and outcomes. And lastly, we have SDG 17, which is partnership for the goals, which describe the essence of Water CoE and the collaborative and the partnership that we have in the center. Then coming to this side, water security is necessary for SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. Water security is also necessary for SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities. Water security is also necessary for SDG 12, which is sustainable consumption and production, which is also the part of the pollution and the water quality. Like the sustainable production also includes the attempt to pollution, which is water quality. And then coming to this part, we see SDG 7, which is affordable clean energy, and SDG 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure as enablers of water service delivery as indicators of partnership that we need or to seek with other ARUA centers of excellence. Right. So up here, I don't know what's happening in this diagram. So the water center views people in the land as a complex social ecological systems, right? And then when complex social ecological systems are sustained, then there are high level SDGs that are moving towards being met, talking about your SDG 1, which is ending poverty, SDG 2, which is hunger, SDG 8, which is decent work, and SDG 10, which is reduce global inequity. And then lastly, we have our SDG 14 here, down here, which is around like your life underwater, and it directly links with the marine environment. We don't really work on that, so that's why it's a weakest link to our work as a water center. Okay, so now we have about 4 SDGs that are directly linked to SDG 6, water and sanitation, or those SDGs that are affected or affect water-related issues. I think I've mentioned this before, that SDG 6 is regarded as central to achievement of all other SDGs because social development, economic development, they all depend on sustainable management of wastewater resources and ecosystems. So the links between SDG 6 and SDG 13 now is SDG 13 encourages stakeholders to take agent action to combat climate change, right? And the foundation for the linkages between these two SDGs is based on the argument that water plays a critical role in how people mitigate and adapt to climate change effect. Secondly, the progress on access to safely manage water, sanitation, and hygiene system will increase the adaptive capacity and decrease the sensitivity, which will ensure greater resilience in terms of water availability for drinking and health consequences in front of climate change related risk. So there are three key water related impacts of changing in climate. One, it increases water related disaster. It increases areas suffering from water stress like ours in Grahamstown. It increases in poor water quality related fatalities. And therefore, because of all these things, there is a need to integrate climate change measures into national water policies and strategies, including the integrated water resource management. So the links between SDG 6 and SDG 15, which is life on land. So here, SDG 15 is realized through action that protects, restore, and promotes the sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, fosters the sustainable management of forest, and reverse land degradation and biodiversity loss. So SDG 15 is strongly linked to SDG 6 owing to the land and water interface, which says healthy landscape equals to healthy water-related ecosystems. Wetlands, rivers, spring forests, marshes, aquifers, and they are all water-related ecosystems that provide social and economic benefit to people. Therefore, their declining condition directly impact water availability, as well as other essential services such as biodiversity and food production. And due to their degrading status of these water-related ecosystems, there is a need to protect them with stakeholder groups and the local community's involvement. Then the links between SDG 6 and SDG 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions. SDG 16 aims to promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development, to provide access for justice for all, and to build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. And therefore, good water governance is required for implementing SDG 6, which is water and sanitation, the political, institutional, and administrative roles within good governance. So good water governance can also enhance the water supply and sanitation services, infrastructure, and increase water utilities revenues and reduce corruption. The integrated water resource management by design promotes the participation of different stakeholders and interests as a result, strengthening the achievement of inclusive decision-making. And the commitment towards inclusive decision-making is also underpinned in participation of local communities in water and sanitation management. And lastly, the integrated water resource management framework can support the development of institutional capacity and participatory processes and provide tools for effective, accountable, and transparent institutions. Lastly, the links between SDG 6 and SDG 11. SDG 11 is this SDG for sustainable cities and communities. There are many interlinkages between these two SDGs as a result of the importance of water and wastewater management in communities. Water and sanitation is key to sustaining the cities and communities. And the growth of cities is dependent on sufficient and adequate water resources to support social and economic activities. The impact of COVID-19 could be considerably higher on the urban poor living in slums and those living in rural areas who don't have access to clean water. Therefore, there is a need to look at both SDG 6 and SDG 11 to address the water sanitation and wastewater management in communities. Yeah, that was all from me. And now it's for us as SRs to link our work to SDGs to answer the questions around which SDGs in your case study contribute to. Is your case study contributing to, and how? Thank you so much.